Hey everybody, welcome to Bench Your Addiction with Greg and Ryan. And today we're going to talk about showing up and making decisions. We finished last week talking about what it's like to be a leader and how people want you to make decisions and what that looks like. And so that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, for sure. And glad to be here again. I really look forward to these.
Nice.
I really do. And making decisions, man. Since let me take a step back. Something I was thinking about is like when I was in the gym all day long. It was I was afforded an addition like an overabundant amount of time to just kind of not do everything that I was supposed to be doing. It comes back to like if you give yourself an hour to do something, it's going to take you an hour to do it. But if you give yourself 3 hours to do that same task, it will take you 3 hours to do that task. Because you have to put time constraints on the things that you're trying to do, lest you waste time. Right? If you put even if you don't even if you put an unrealistic time constraint on a project or a goal, rest assured, and you don't make it, rest assured by the time you hit that mark, you will have done so much more. You'll be so much closer to the thing that you're trying to do, right? So, making a decision on like with my schedule, like when I was in the gym all day long, I had hours sometimes in between clients, and like I would just kind of lazily go through my warm up. I mean, I think I'd like to think and like to say that I was working hard, and maybe there was some relative difficulty, but like yesterday, for example, my day was busy enough where I had 20 minutes, like from the time my 5 a.m. appointment finished, and I had to be out of the gym to make it to the job site. I had 20 minutes to get in a workout. There was absolutely no wasted time, none. Uh, there were still like 15 to 20-second rest periods just to kind of reset, refocus, and then get back into the next set. I supersetted a lot of things and triple setted a couple things, and
Yeah.
I would take time in between to stay focused on what it is because I don't want to do sloppy reps. I don't want to just walk out of here and say that I did 3 sets of 12. If they were 3 sets of crappy 12, like I don't, or ineffective or not focused. So, but I had 20 minutes to get this thing done, man, and there was absolutely no wasted time. I went for the big rocks. I turned those over first, and then like in the gaps, I would sprinkle in like just so I could get my shoulders feeling good and make sure that my back was feeling good. And this morning I had 45 minutes to work out. And like when you go from 20 minutes to 45 minutes to do a thing that you enjoy doing, man, 45 minutes just feels like a freaking playground. Where
Yep.
it used to be like 45 minutes was, oh crap, like I better bust my butt. I don't know if I'm going to get everything I want done in 45 minutes. And all of this happens because I made a decision. I made a decision that despite working a part-time job, a full-time job, planning a wedding, uh, keeping my recovery in mind, like doing all of these things, I made a decision that I was gonna. I still woke up early enough today to make my meal prep for today, so I've got all my food ready to go so that I can eat properly on my breaks during the day. And man, I just made a decision, and like back to what we talked about a little bit last week is like once you know your values, it's really easy to make decisions. You make those decisions, and then you you don't leave yourself any wiggle room to get out of it when it's time to pay up, and you just follow through, man.
Yeah, it's exactly it. I was talking to a client yesterday and I hear the reverse of this. They're like, oh, well, I can't because of XYZ. And I was like, no, you made a decision to do that. And you could leave at any moment. You're just choosing not to. And they're like, well, I guess. And I was like, no, I mean, like you're in control of your life. Like that's the reality of it, right? Like you're choosing to put yourself in that situation. You're choosing like that friendship over your other priorities, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But you have to understand that you're making that decision and you're choosing that, right? And I see too often, and I know from my own experience that I used to do this too. It'd be like, oh, well, it's because of this I can't do that. And like no, man, you're giving up all of your power. Like all of your power is being given up when you say it's because of XYZ or because of some other person or because of this time constraint. Like you chose that, and that's okay, but you chose that, right? And that's shown up in a lot of things like my recovery and all these other areas of life, right? Like when I saw that picture of myself when I was 260 pounds, I made a decision that day to change, right? Like it wasn't like, oh no, what am I gonna do? It was like, okay, today's the day. Like, and that was it. There was no other like there was a lot of other questions and like decisions after that, but that decision to change started then, and it was immediate. And it's really about accepting that you can make decisions, being okay that sometimes you make those decisions, they might not be right, but the fact is that you made a decision. But it's better to make a decision and maybe make a wrong decision than it is to make no decisions, right? And just sit there and being like, oh, woe is me, I can't change anything in my life. Like, yeah, you can, man. You know what I mean? And it's really, and now it's like next level. I started to talk to other people who like are higher up than me, like successful business owners and other things like that. And I talked to a couple of them, and I was like, did you become a millionaire or did you decide to become a millionaire? Which came first? And every single one of them I talked to said they decided first. And so it's the same concept, whether you want to get fit, whether you want to own a successful business, whether you want to get sober. Like, I know when I got sober too, it was the same thing. I was sitting in a holding cell and I was like, man, this needs to change. I have no control. And like, I went from like, oh, if you had grown up with my childhood, or if you had grown up in this lifestyle, or if you had been in this situation, you'd have done the same thing. But that day I was like, no, none of that matters anymore. It's my actions that got me here, and it's my actions that need to get me out of here. And so that's how I feel about making decisions.
Yeah, well, and also not making a decision is a decision in itself.
Yeah.
Like to sit there and allow things to happen to you is a decision. You're allowing things to happen to you. So like it's just a matter of like who you're choosing to give power to. Like I love my sponsor when he taught like I used to be I used to be victim to other people's emotional reaction to my reality. Like when other people would feel some type of way about what I was doing, if I got a sideways look, if I was doing something that like if I was testing something in the gym, which I did a lot of, it's just try to understand conceptually and understand experientially what I was trying to have my clients do. Like I would get these looks, and I was just like, and I would make myself feel like an outcast, and as a result, I would try to dampen down just a little bit so that I didn't get like I didn't want people to talk about me. I didn't want people to look at me, whatever. And like, because I didn't want to feel responsible. I didn't want to be responsible. Is ultimately what I thought. I didn't want to be responsible for somebody else being uncomfortable. And like, while I'm not encouraging people to deliberately be a dick and go out and start offending people, but you gotta be okay with people not agreeing with your decisions that you make, or not being like other people not being okay with uh, what you decided to do, what right or wrong. And so, but what my sponsor helped me kind of navigate was specifically around a situation with a family member where I was taking responsibility for this person's reaction to my decision to be in California. And he pointed it out. He's like, that's not, it's not on you, man. Like, he likes to say I worked way too hard for my serenity. You can't have it. F you. Like, and like you're not like you don't have the power to take away my peace. I have the power to give it away, but you don't have the power to take it. And I love that. I love that idea. It's just like because it's uncomfortable. It's extremely uncomfortable at first. It was for me
Yeah.
to be at peace amongst tribulation or amongst turmoil, what I perceive to be turmoil and tribulation. Like again, but that ties into perception, which was absolutely skewed. But make the decision, and it doesn't matter if people agree with your decision. You need to have the back. I need to have the backbone. Keep it about myself. Like I needed to have the backbone to be able to put boundaries up over the decisions that I was making in the face of pressure from people that I cared about. Like it was easy enough, like even though it was difficult, it was easy enough for me to cast off the opinions of people that I don't like or don't respect or don't agree with or whatever. It was easy to cast their opinions off. It's extremely difficult for me to cast off the opinions of people that I love. And it's not like just because I disagree or they disagree with me doesn't mean that there's any love lost. There doesn't have to be any love lost. It's just that I'm going to do this, and ultimately this is what I feel that I need to do, and accept everything that comes with it, man. Like good, bad, indifferent, and like I would go a step further, and like we want to really get in the weeds of philosophy and perception. It's just like good and bad are attachments that I put on a situation, not necessarily truth or reality. Like something that I perceive as bad could be good for me. Something that I perceive as good could be really bad for me, like drugs,
Yeah, yeah,
alcohol. Like I know for
yeah,
sure I started drinking and I was like, this is the thing.
yeah, yeah,
I love drinking. Alcohol is amazing. This is
yeah.
so good for me. I used to, and like, just because I think something's good doesn't mean that it's actually good, because I've been wrong so many times. And so what makes me immune from being wrong this time?
Yeah, yeah, I talk about that all the time, man. Like being wrong is great. Someone I had this conversation too. It was very similar vein, but someone was like, "How do I start being more successful?" I was like, "Fail. You need to fail. You need to fail more often. You need to fail all the time. You need to speed up your rate of failure. You're only going to get better if you fail, right? Like, and like to take it to the gym, like we go to failure with every set, right? Like, so we're used to that, right? And that kind of it makes for me all my decisions in life much easier because like okay cool if this decision doesn't work out I failed that's fine. I just get faster at failing, and then I get one of those times it'll be successful and it'll be right. And like I like that about like just because I think it's good for me doesn't mean it is, right? Like if I could not have all the consequences from all the things I used to do, I would could have continued to do those things. There was no doubt about that. You know what I mean? You know, right? But luckily I dealt with the consequences, and that allowed me to change my life. And that's just a simple answer, whether it was like drugs or alcohol or food or, poor training to hurt my back, right? Like those are all things I thought were good for me and were bad and worked out for me great. Like it's been awesome. Like I'm glad I failed at all these things. I'm glad I continue to fail at all these things. It's me making the decision, me understanding that that decision, man, I'm at the right decision. But instead of now approaching it of like, oh no, why did I do that? Of like, cool, we learn from that. Like I don't lose, I learn. That's what I tell people all the time, right? And it makes life much easier. Just like you were saying, like getting upset or changing my peace or serenity. Like if things don't work out, like cool, they weren't meant to work out. That's it. You know what I mean? Like cool, we spent a lot of money on that ad campaign. It didn't work out. Oh well, next ad campaign will be better. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm at with like business and like everything else. And I also want to bring it back to like what you said about like having amount of time and like setting that amount of time, right? Like it is so true. If you give yourself any sort of extra leeway or any sort of extra like, oh, I could do it later. Or, oh, I got 3 hours to do it. Like, man, no. Like, take advantage of it. Do it all. Get it done. Get on top of it. Give yourself that 1 hour to get it done. Get 90% of it done, and then finish the end of it later. Right? Do whatever you can. And like, man, and bringing it back to workout, like, man, my workouts have been crushing it too because I've been so busy at work. I'm working like 12-hour days. So, like, my workout time has gotten smaller and smaller, but that's not, doesn't mean I'm going to work out less. It just means I'm going to work out harder, right? It's lots of supersets, lots of doubles, and it just feels good to be that active and that on top of it and to be at a place where, you know, I can look at a challenge today and instead of being like, oh, that's too hard, being like, all right, cool, let's go, you know?
Yeah, and I love how you pointed out like we approach failure in the gym with every single set. Uh, Maybe not every single set. Like I'm not trying to take a warm up to failure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I that's neither here nor there. But like, the gym is such a rewarding place to be able to practice everything that we want to do in life, right? Like the workout that I did was challenging today. I faced it. I did it. I'm still alive, which means that um, I can go I can go to work today, and if there's an uncomfortable conversation for me to have, I don't need to do like what I used to do, which was try to tuck my tail between my legs, avoid the person, not have the conversation. Like I can just have the conversation and like know that I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be fine, and like, and the guys I'm working with are almost certainly not gonna hear this. It's just like if anything were to come to a confrontation, both of these guys have a shit ass back. All I have to do is like I can like I know like left to physicality I'm solid, like I'm gonna be okay. um so Not that it's going to get to that point, but like I'm fine is the point that I'm trying to make. I'm fine with whatever happens, and like it makes me okay with being on the receiving end of an uncomfortable conversation, because like I haven't done painting, like commercial painting or residential. I haven't done any kind of painting like this in over a decade. Like, so it's been a freaking minute, right? And it's like riding a bike kind of metaphor. Like I'm getting back into it. Things are starting to make sense, and like like it's not a complicated job, but there are still little things about this trade that I wasn't doing very well. And the guy that's running the job, he kind of like he pointed out where things were wrong. But the guy that I'm working alongside, he's been an immense amount of help, and he's not made me try to feel any type of way, or like not tried to make me feel inferior or anything. He's just like, hey, when you're doing this, I want like, try to do it this way instead. And like earlier this week, we came into the job site on Monday, and there was a tape and drape job in one of the rooms where the tape was coming off the wall because I failed to tap all of the edges to make sure that the masking tape stayed up. That's just something I wasn't necessarily paying attention to the fine details like that. I was just, all right, room done, move to the next. All right, room done, move to the next. And so the other guy that we're working with, he pointed it out. He's like, "Hey man, shit's coming down. Like you need to do it this way." And like instead of me feeling bad, shameful, or sulk, like what I could have done in the past, or what I most certainly would have done, and just like, oh, I'm such a fuck up. I was like, okay, I need to do it better. Right? I just need to do it a little bit better. And lo and behold, like when we did the job yesterday, I made sure like nobody was going to be able to talk about my lines, man. Like they were straight edge. It was right on the wall. It was perfect. Like I made sure every single freaking corner, every single wall was padded in. And like it's not a complicated job, but if you don't pay attention to the details like that, like I wasn't, then the quality of work suffers, or the amount of work increases because I didn't do it proper the first time. And like I can have those conversations and go, oh man, I screwed up. All right, I can like today's an opportunity to be a little bit better. Like here's a perfect example. Like we like one of the rooms, the walls that we had finished. Like I was back rolling the ceiling with the guy that running the job. He was spraying the ceiling. I was back rolling it behind him with the roller, and I carelessly swung the roller around at one point and I smacked the wall with flat white, and the wall's supposed to be eggshell. And like I was like, if for a second I was like, oh no, I screwed it up. And I walked out into the hallway. I was like, hey Bill, I screwed this wall up. I accidentally tapped the wall, and I don't know what I was expecting. He started laughing. He's like, okay, it wasn't a big deal. So like even if you make mistakes, they're probably not as big as your mind is fancying them out to be. Is my point. Is like you made
Yep.
it like everyone falls short. Everyone makes a mistake. There's a thing oversight. There's moments of just mental lapses where you're just not paying attention. You think you are, but you're not, because like for whatever reason. And it's okay, man. It's okay. But the thing is, like the last point that I really wanted to drive home is like you said that when you saw your picture of yourself at 260, you made a decision. How many? Like, I'm just curious, real quick. Like, how long ago was that when you made that decision?
7 years at this point.
Yeah. So 7 times 365, you've made that decision that many times to follow
Yep.
through, right? It's a decision to choose every day. My friend Chris says this all the time. Is like every day we wake up, we have a chance and we have a choice. We have a chance to do it better, and we have a choice to follow through, and we have to do that every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like bringing it back to sobriety too. It's the same thing. We get a chance to do better every day. Like it. You know, people really like the transformation of me, like losing 100 pounds, and like they really like those pictures. But what they don't see is the transformation of me being, strung out, right, to getting fat. Like that was a great transformation. I was really happy to be healthy and fat, right? Like, uh, you know, that transformation of like out on the streets, getting in trouble, getting fat, great. I was happy with that, and it just didn't serve me anymore, right? But I never want to be like, oh, I changed my life because I lost a bunch of weight. No, like, no, I changed my life because I got sober. Everything else is a side effect of that, right? Like now being a pro bodybuilder, now having a successful business, now having a thriving family, like it's all because I got sober, right? Like because now I'm able to make better, healthier decisions and not just, be stuck in like a circle of like woe is me and using a blame throw on everybody else around me. Like, like, oh, it's all your fault. Like, no, man, this is my life, this is my decisions, this is my choices. And I really like that point about, making mistakes. Like 99% of the time when you make a mistake and you're in your head about it and you think it's this big deal, like nobody really cares. It's not even that big of a deal, you know? And most of the time it's our own thinking that gets in our own way. And if it is like a pretty big deal, like we still got to deal with it, right? Like you made a mistake, like now you got to deal with it, right? Like putting it off and not dealing with it is never going to help, right? Like, not making a decision about changing it is never going to help, right? Uh, and like it's interesting to see how like all these behaviors and benefits of like making decisions now play as like a father, right? And like I have these same things coming up with my kid, and like now I got to teach him to make decisions, and now I got to teach him like, okay, and it's like much simpler stuff like, what do you want for dinner? What are you gonna wear today? Do you want to pick this? And I do my best to give him the chance to make decisions, right? Like when it's bedtime, we've been working on like a system where I give him some like options and choices, right? He's got to brush his teeth, wash his hands, and put on pajamas, right? So what I do is which one do you want to do first, and what do you want to do? And so now he has to make a decision about it. And I'm going to continue to do these things and build these habits. So he's good at making decisions because I was never taught any of that. And I do think about how it came full circle and how I've come to this point and how often I make decisions now and what people look for in life. And it's really great. Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because the ability to make a decision is a skill, and
Yeah.
just like riding a bike or anything that you've ever tried to do the first time, you're always sloppy at it first.
Yeah.
Like you make a decision and then you let everybody and their mother violate the boundaries of that decision. You allow someone to influence your decision after you've made it, or whatever, rather than being at the helm of the ship and saying we're going in that direction. uh, and people like you have the entire crew saying like I want to go that way, I want to go that way, I want to go that way, and you have like at the helm you said no, this is the way that we need to go. Not go this direction for a couple clicks and then go like, oh, I think I was wrong, let's go that way. Oh, I think I was wrong, let's go that way. Oh, I think I was wrong. Like, because like then you lose your validity as a leader, right?
Hmm.
Like, and like you can't allow that to to happen. You need to be you have to have the discernment to be able to admit when you've made an error and then course correct as necessary, or just release and relinquish certain decisions altogether based on whether or not they're working. If the sink is shipping, I mean if the sink is shipping, if the ship is sinking, if the ship is sinking, like you probably shouldn't get a pail and just try to grab it like some type of Looney Tunes thing where you're like trying to water's coming in the Titanic and you've got a bucket and you're trying to empty out the Titanic as it's going down. Like maybe you should just get on one of those safety rafts. But like you need to be able to make those decisions, follow through, make changes as necessary, but understand when it's necessary and when it's just easy to change your decision, right? Like don't take the easy path. Don't take the easy path on purpose, right? Don't change your mind just because changing your mind leads to something that's a little bit easier for you to do. Change your decision simply because of a need as a leader. Uh, Otherwise, stick the course. Stick the course and sail right through that Bermuda's Triangle and be the first one to make it out on the other side.
Yeah, I'd hope you want to make it out on the other side, man. Right? But like it circles back to like, you make a decision, now you get the chance to do that decision every day, right? Like and not second guess yourself and not not underestimate the decision you made it and understand that, some decisions aren't going to work out, but that's okay, man. It's still your decision. So next week we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll talk about staying the course and what that looks like in our lives and how staying the course has really changed everything, especially in regards to sobriety. All right, man. Have a good week.
Take care.